This is COVID-19, the virus that lives on, hosted by Pauline Dulang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pauline Dulang, and I am here with Mr. Ernie Chambers today, and we are going to be talking about the COVID-19 virus. Hi, Mr. Chambers. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so my first question to you is, in short, can you give me a brief overview of what COVID-19 is?
Well, first of all, the term means, because there are coronaviruses, this is the coronavirus disease from 2019, and it identifies the one that came from China, whichever location, and that lets people know that this is something new. And I don't know whether they really understand everything about it right now, but if you get the virus and you're not going to be able to overcome it on your own, then you have shortness of breath, then other types of problems develop. You may have to go on a ventilator because you don't have the strength to take in air and breathe it out. Your lungs can fill up. There are other side effects that can occur, but it is a disease that generally will be fatal if untreated. Now, that's what my understanding of it is. And if a person gets COVID, it's not like a cold where if I drink water and get rest, then it's going to go away. So I think it's one of the most serious diseases that has struck people during my 85 years on this planet.
Yeah, of course. And from what you've seen, how do you know that COVID-19 is real and not just, like you said, this minor curable cold that we can just sleep off and drink water? How do you know that it's real?
When I hear news accounts, when I hear and see medical people and scientists describing the nature of this virus, and then they give the figures in terms of how many people are hospitalized, how many people then will die from it, how many, even if they don't die, they may have a long lingering effect from it. I have no question in my mind whatsoever that COVID is real, that COVID is a killer, and COVID is not a friend of mine. So as soon as it was possible to get a vaccination, I got my vaccination. I think it is as real as this table.
Yes, this table is very real. How is COVID-19 affecting North Omaha, and what are the effects that you see today now after it's been 2-3 years now?
Unfortunately, when it comes to the Black community, which is what we're talking about in North Omaha, when it comes to medical care, we get the short end of the stick anyway. If everybody in North Omaha believed that COVID is everything that we're told it is, we might have trouble getting vaccines like we need, and then medications, if any, are developed. But unfortunately, there are Black people that I've talked to who think that it's a myth. And I will quote the Bible because they believe in it. My people perish and are destroyed from lack of knowledge. I tell them, I know you watch television. You see how many people are dying. And even Johnny Rogers, who everybody knows in Nebraska, was not accepting that it's genuine. So we either know somebody who had it, know somebody whose relative had it, and if we watch television, we know about it. So Black people need to be made aware of the fact that vaccinations are available, that you're not going to have to pay for them. You can go to the Charles Drew Clinic. Maybe there's a number that you can look up on the, I don't use what I call the gadget, to find out where you can get a vaccination. But excuse me, if you haven't gotten the vaccination, my view is that you're committing suicide. If you're lucky enough to fight it off the first time, there are variants of it, and that if I come down with the virus and I overcome it, then I'll develop an immunity. Well, you can have an immunity in quotation marks for COVID-19, but there are variants of it. It will change, and that automatic immunity you might build up from having caught it and survive is not going to protect you from the variant. It's like what they call in these science fiction movies, a shape shifter. Something looks a certain way, and when you get ready to deal with it based on what it looks like, it changes its shape and form and becomes something else. COVID-19 and its variants are not to be played with. I don't know of anything I can say to persuade people to get that vaccination. I even had the media present on 2 occasions. Then I did push-ups, not to show off, but to indicate that I'm in good health. I don't get sick. The only time I went to the hospital was to get a colonoscopy, and I was over 70 years old then. So if I am in good health like that, and I believe what I've been told about this virus, and I get a vaccination, if there are people who have any respect for me and don't feel that I'm insane, then maybe I can be an example from my conduct of how people ought to behave. I've gotten not only that first shot, I've had a total of 3. So I've got some boosters, and they say that there might be another booster available in the fall to deal with one of these variants. So I hope they get it before I catch the variant, because at my age, I don't care how healthy I am right now, I'm in a high risk group. I'm older, and some people say, well, maybe we'll get rid of him with COVID, then we'll worship COVID. But it's not a thing to be played with.
Yeah, agreed. There are so many differing professional opinions on COVID-19. So how do we know who to trust and with what information?
If we are dealing with something that can cause death, we ought to take the opinion that is the most serious and act in accord with what is the worst thing that could happen. So let there be opinions running from number 1 through 100. If according to the 100th opinion, and it's a medical professional or a scientist, and this is that person's conclusion, and the vaccination is that conclusion, I go all the way to the end where I will do what will make me safest if the worst comes to worst. So it's up to people to determine whom they will believe, what example they will follow, or if they're going to roll the dice. They have to hope it doesn't come up craps.
Yeah. And then lastly, you were just talking about the vaccine earlier. Can you expand upon how much it costs, where to get it, how available and accessible is it?
It's readily available, and there are places you can get it without having to pay for it. So there are places, I call it the gadget again, where you can get this information and find locations, or you can call the Douglas County Health Department, and they will notify you of places where you can go to get the vaccination and places where you don't even have to pay for it. The last one I got was through the Charles Drew Clinic, and I didn't have to pay for it. It was on 50-something and Maple or 60th out there, and it doesn't hurt. There's no pain, you don't pass out, there were no side effects, and there's no way if I was a young person, I'm gonna let some gray-haired 85-year-old man put me to shame. It never would happen. So they got to straighten up and fly right.
Yeah, very, very true. I've heard someone say before, if it's free, it's for me.
Hey, I like that. All right.
Well, anyway, that's all the time that we have today. So thank you so much for coming here. We will be giving regular updates, so be sure to keep checking up on us. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been COVID-19, the virus that lives on, hosted by Pauline Dulang. If you'd like to leave suggestions, email us at ewcfacts@gmail.com. That's ewcfacts@gmail.com. This has been an EWC Communication production.